Chapter 10. The Start from Red Bluffs, Mishaps by the Way, Devil's Pocket, Adventure at Eureka, Field Crickets, the Californian Quail, Singular Nesting of Bullock's Oriole. April 28th. My pack train is completed. My provisions arranged for packing on the mules. I have 81 mules and a bell horse. To manage mules without a horse carrying a bell around its neck is perfectly impossible. The bell horse is always ridden ahead, and wherever it goes the mules follow in a single file. But of this and packing I shall have more to say further on. April 29th, Sunday. April 30th. I have determined to find my way through Oregon by an unknown route. Doing this, I shall reach the commission at least 2 months earlier than by taking the ordinary mail route to Portland. Again and again I have warned of the risk of not only losing my mules and men, but my own scalp into the bargain. The country swarms with hostile Indians. Many large streams have to be crossed. The trail is bad, if any. And although the prospect is anything but cheering, I have, however, made up my mind to go. The annoyances of a start got over, wild mules reduced to a state of discipline, packs adjusted, and men as sober as could reasonably be expected. All went pleasant as a marriage bell until the second day, when my first misfortune happened. May 1st. I camp on a beautiful bit of ground with grass in abundance and a stream clear as crystal and cold as ice rippling past, close to my fire. I place a guard over my mules, fearing accidents, and choosing as level a spot as I can, roll myself in a blanket, and with my head in my saddle, soon slept. I woke at sunup, lit my pipe, and wandered off to see what had become of my mules. I found the trusty guard sound asleep, coiled up around a tree, but not a mule. A sharp admonition, administered through the medium of my foot, soon dispelled his dreams and awoke him to a lively sense of reality. He rapidly uncoiled, stared vacantly around, and thus relieved his feelings. "I guess they're gone, Captain. Every tarnation coon of them. Right slick back to the bluff." I could have pistoled the rascal there and then, but the mules had to be recovered, so I bottled up my wrath, roused all my sleeping camp, and we started in pursuit of the missing culprits. May 4th, 3 days have elapsed and I have got the mules together, but 3 are still absent. Again we started. I made a long march crossing Cottonwood Creek through Major Radin's ranch. One of the finest in California, for grazing, stuck the upper Sacramento and camped about sundown on a creek named Stillwater. May 5th. In the night it came on a deluge of rain that regularly soaked through everything, but it cleared towards morning, and we dried ourselves in the sun as we rode along. The next 3 days we traveled through a beautiful park-like country, very lightly timbered, covered with grass, and thickly dotted with magnificent ranches, farms. We struck Pitt River on the 4th day, crossed it narrowly, swam the mules, and ferried over the pack. May 9th. Our journey for the first 12 miles lay through a narrow rocky gorge. The trail, simply a ledge of rock barely wide enough for a mule to stand upon. 300 feet below rolled the river. The least mistake, a single false step, and over goes mule or man, as it may be, and you see the last of him. You are past the most curious place called the Devil's Pocket. The trail winds along the very edge as you peer down into an immense hollow kind of basin that looks as if it had once been a lake and suddenly dried up. The hills are lofty, sharply pointed, and capped with snow. At the head of this gorge, I, for the first time, saw an encampment of Digger Indians, and a more famished picture of squalid misery can hardly be imagined. Their wretched conformless huts are like large molehills. There is a pit sunk in the ground, and a framework of sticks shaped like an umbrella is arched over it. Old skins and pieces of bark over the frame, and the hole is covered with earth. The entrance is a hole into which they enter. Their food consists principally of esculent roots of various kinds, which they dig during the summer months and dry in the sun. The field cricket they also dry in large quantities and eat them just as we do shrimp. Bread made from acorn flour is also another important article of their diet. They seldom fish or hunt. Their arms are bows and arrows. Their clothing, both male and female, simply a bit of skin worn like an apron. They are small in stature, thin, squalid, and dirty, and degraded in appearance. In their habits, a little better than an outrang. They are certainly low. We camped in the evening on a large plain called Big Flat. May 10th. It was bitterly cold all night and froze sharply. We got off soon after sunup and literally crept along the high range of mountains, densely wooded and forming one side of the valley of Sacramento, which was dwindled down into a mere mountain burn. Here I came suddenly on a little colony of miners engaged in gold washing. I discovered the place where was named Dogtown, the entire town consisting of a store, a grog shop, and a smithy. I paid 25 cents a shilling for a mere sip of the vilest poison I have ever tasted, libelously called fine old Mongolia whiskey. About 6 miles further, still on the same trail, I came to another gold claim, where there were no houses at all, called Portuguese Flat. Passed through some thin timber, camped on a lovely mountain stream. May 11th, Shotgun Creek. My camp is on the one side of a steep mountain, and about a mile further on is another stream, Mary's Creek. Camped on this stream was a small pack train that had been with stores to the mining station. I heard wolves barking and howling at night, and twice I drove them out of my camp with a fire log. The next morning I passed the camp of the packers. They were in sad grief. The rascally wolves had pulled down one of their mules and torn it almost to pieces. I rode up in the wood to see its mangled remains. The ravenous beast must have fixed on its haunches and ripped it up whilst it lived. I was sadly grieved for the poor beast that had come to so untimely an end, and for the man who had lost them. At least 30 pounds worth. For 2 more days I followed up the course of the Sacramento and crossed it for the last time. Standing at the ford and looking straight up the valley, the scenery is wild and beautiful in the extreme. On either side, sharp pinnacles like rocks shoot up into all sorts of fantastic shapes, dotted with the sugar pine, scrub oak, and manzanita in front, and blocking up, as it were, the end of the valley stood Mount Shasta, at this time covered to its base with snow. This vast mountain is a constant landmark to trappers, for it can be seen from an incredible distance, and stands completely isolated in the midst of the Shasta Plains. I camped close to the very snow at its base in a little dell called Strawberry Valley. The next day, I reached the Shasta Plains and camped early in the day. May 15th, as I was bid goodbye to civilization, I abandoned all hopes of seeing aught but savages. After leaving the camp and being by no means sure of the road, I made up my mind to ride into Eureka and obtain information about the Indians and the state of the trails, and also, what was of equal importance, obtain a relay of provisions. The distance from my camp to the city was about 30 miles. Eureka City is a small mining station situated on one side of the Great Shasta Plains. It stands quite away from law, society, and civilization. Gold being the magnet that attracts first the miner and then the various satellites. Jackals would be more appropriate to name that follow his steps. I've left the mules in charge of my packmaster and started a sun up. The ride was the most desolate affair over an interminable sandy plain, without even a shrub or flower, much more or a tree to break the monotony. I reached Eureka about 10 and put up at what cheer house, bespoke my bed, and ordered breakfast. The keen morning air and a 30-mile ride had made me perfectly ravenous, and I waged alarming havoc on the ham and eggs, fixing corn dodgers that I must say were admirable. The tea was not a success, being a remarkably mild infusion, very hot and sweetened with brown sugar, but it washed down the solid, and the finest Kongu could not have done more.